If you've worked a job, you've probably experienced work-related stress. The American Psychological Association has consistently found that most Americans commonly cite work as a significant source of stress. On this segment of Wellness Wednesday, Sara Maslar-Donar sits down with an SSM Health doctor to identify common workplace stressors and how to cope.
SSM Health's Dr. Heather Schmidt joins us now. Heather, thanks for being here to talk about workplace stress.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Well, first, I do want to establish what work-related stress might be. So can you share some common sources of work stress?
Oh, absolutely. So, when we think about what we're facing, especially now, I'd say the majority of industries, depending on where you are, staffing is a major issue. We have such an issue when the workload has really not decreased, but the number of people that are able to perform the work has. And so that's a major issue, I would say, right now that people are facing when they're at work, and just the amount of stress they're experiencing.
So that's a huge one, and I totally understand that. So with that and maybe other stressors, how do you identify like the physical or emotional manifestation of those stressful feelings?
So definitely listening and being aware of your own emotions and experiences. I think when you can be just really acutely paying attention to what you're feeling. So often, people start to notice physical symptoms like their heart rate goes up, or their blood pressure's a little high, or maybe they're having some headaches or just some body pain. That can be all signs and symptoms of stress. And it could be that, of course, we have stress at work and outside of work. But when you think about, like, what are your Sunday nights like if you start work for the week on Monday morning? What are your rides to work like? What are your rides home from work like? And how can you actually start to really pay attention to what you're experiencing in your own experience?
Should employees be talking to their employers about advocating for a healthy, less stressful work environment?
Absolutely. So we know that work is actually a social determinant of health. We spend a lot of time at work, and so we need to make sure that workplace wellness is actually a priority, because we can encourage an environment that helps to foster well-being. There's a lot of different ways to do that. So certainly keeping well-being top of mind, having conversations about this with your leader, with your colleagues, bring back some fun to work. We need to make sure we have good relationships at work, and really recognizing that what is in your control to help improve and what is not. And those areas that might be impacting you that are not in your control to change, make sure you escalate that and take that to your leader and talk about it.
And what should leaders do on the flip side of the coin there to foster that environment for employees?
I think one of the most important things leaders could do is recognize they play a huge role in their team's well-being. And so practicing their own well-being, prioritizing, and actually doing what they can for their own well-being actually trickles down and allows their team members to see that this is a priority for them too. So lead by example, right? And then also advocating for the fact that we need to have manageable workloads. We need to be able to address job stress. We need to be able to think about healthy boundaries that allow for people to really integrate work and home life. I'm a big fan of work-life balance. Actually, I know people are getting away from that, but sometimes we have to recognize that it's balance. We might have times that we lean in at work a little more, and and life at home is a little bit more of a struggle. And then the opposite, where we actually lean in at home a little more, and that work needs to be flexible enough to be able to recognize that need.
Thank you so much for all of this information. Really appreciate it. I think this will be very valuable for our viewers today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great week.
You too.